Choosing a childcare centre is one of the biggest decisions you'll make as a parent, but most parents make it with almost no guidance into what they're actually looking for. I spent 15 years almost across Australian childcare centres. I know what the good ones look like from the inside. I also know what the not so good ones look like. And a few years ago, I actually went through this process myself as a parent, not a professional, touring centres with my own daughter. And I want to tell you, it felt completely different from the other side of the desk. That combination, professional insider knowledge, plus the lived experience of a parent navigating that decision, is exactly what this video is. I'm going to walk you through every step of finding the right childcare centre in Australia, with the things most guides leave out and the insider knowledge that genuinely changes how you approach this. This is a long video because this is an important decision. Stay to the end though, because I've got a free printable childcare search checklist in the description. Everything in this video in one document that you can take on your search with you. Let's get into it. So before you look at any centre, I want to reframe what you're actually deciding here, because most parents see this as a logistics problem: location, hours, cost, availability. And those things do matter, but they're not the most important question. The most important question is, how will my child be genuinely well cared for, emotionally safe, and supported to learn and develop? That's the question underneath all the logistics. And keeping that in front of your mind changes how you evaluate everything else. So before you start researching, what are your non-negotiables? Not your preferences, your non-negotiables. Location within a certain distance. Hours that work for your family. A philosophy of care that aligns with your values. An environment where your child specifically, their temperament, their needs, their stage of development will thrive. Write those down before you start looking. They become your filter for everything that follows. Australia has several distinct types of childcare, and it's worth understanding them before you start searching, because the right type for your family depends on your specific circumstances. Long daycare centres are the most common. Centre-based care, typically operating between the hours of around 7 in the morning till about 6 o'clock at night. They accommodate children from 6 weeks old up until school aged. These are regulated under the National Quality Framework, staffed by qualified educators, and eligible for the Childcare Subsidy. Family daycare is provided in a registered educator's home, usually in smaller groups of up to 7. For some families and some children, this smaller, home-like environment is a better fit than a larger centre. It's also regulated and childcare subsidised as well. Outside school hours care, OSH, covers before school, after school and vacation care for school-aged children. If your child is approaching school age, this becomes increasingly relevant. Occasional care offers flexible, non-regular care for specific needs. Preschool as well and kindergarten programs often run through long daycare centres or standalone preschools and focus specifically on the year or two before school. Understanding what type suits your family is step one in narrowing your search from everything available to actually what's relevant for you. Right, now you're ready to research. Here are the specific tools I recommend for Australian parents. Starting Blocks at startingblocks.gov.au is the Australian government's official childcare finder. You can search by location, type of care, age of child, and days needed. It lists every approved service and links directly to their National Quality Standard rating. Start there. The ACECQA website at ACECQA, ACECQA.gov.au lets you check any centre's current National Quality Standard rating and assessment history. Look up every centre you're seriously considering before you tour. An exceeding or an excellent rating is what you're looking for. Working towards is a caution. Significant improvement required is a serious concern. Service Australia's Childcare Subsidy Estimator will show you what you're likely to receive in childcare subsidy based on your income and hours of approved activity. Do this before you make any decision on price. Many families are significantly better supported than they realise. Finally, local Facebook parenting groups are genuinely valuable for local recommendations. Search your suburb or town name plus childcare recommendations, and you'll find parents sharing their real experiences. Take individual reviews though with appropriate skepticism, but patterns across multiple parents are worth noting. Now I need to talk about waitlists because this is where so many Australian parents get caught out. The waitlist situation at quality childcare centres in most Australian cities and many regional areas is genuinely significant. Popular centres in high demand areas can have waitlists of about 12 to 18 months or longer. That is not an exaggeration. I've seen families wait 2 years for a place at their preferred centre. What this means practically, if you're pregnant or have a young baby, start researching and getting on wait lists now. Not when you need care, now. You can always decline a place if your circumstance changes, but you cannot fast track a wait list. Get on multiple wait lists simultaneously. Prioritise your preferred options, but have backups. Update your details if situation changes. Call centres every few months to confirm that you're still on their list and to update your anticipated start date. The parents who get places at their first choice centres are almost always the parents who plan furthest ahead. Don't let the waitlist reality catch you off guard. Touring a centre is where your insider knowledge, or lack of it, makes the biggest difference. Most parents tour with a list of questions and miss the most important things because they don't know what to observe. The first thing that I look for when I visit any childcare centre, before I speak to anyone, before I look at the facilities, is the staff-child interactions. Are educators getting down to a children's level? Are they using children's names? Are they responding warmly when a child approaches them? Are children genuinely settled and engaged? That observation in the first 5 minutes tells me more than an hour of questions. Look at the artwork on the walls. Is it individual across 30 children, or, are they all exactly the same and identical? Does the outdoor space use real evidence of real use and exploration? Do the educators actually look like they want to be there? Is the director someone who lights up and when they talk about the children? See, when we first were looking at centres for my eldest, I remember there was one centre we visited. They wouldn't even let me in the door when I knocked. They just pretty much went, no, we got no space, and just shunned us completely. Then the other centre I looked at, or one of the other ones, as soon as I walked in, the director literally lit up. She was like, hey, how are you? Thank you for coming. She was engaging, and she took us through the centre, and I saw that radiate throughout the rest of the staff in the rest of the rooms. And that's when we knew we had the right centre for our eldest. Look, my detailed red flags video, the link I'll put in the description, covers everything you need to look for and avoid in much more detail. Watch this one alongside before you tour. Most touring parents usually ask the same questions. Ratio, qualifications, curriculum, fees. All valid and no issues with them. But here's a couple of other questions that can genuinely reveal what a centre is like. Ask the director, what are you most proud of in this centre? What are you still working to improve? How long have your room leaders been here? What does a typical day look like in my child's age group? Ask the room leader if you can speak to one. How do you handle a child who is struggling to settle? What do you do if a child is distressed at drop-off? How do you communicate with parents about the details of their child's day? Pay close attention to how they answer, not just what they say. Passion and specificity signal genuine engagement. Vague, rehearsed answers signal that a centre is better at presenting rather than doing. Ask to see documentation of children's learning, the learning stories, observations and portfolios that should be part of every quality childhood programme. A centre that can't show you those or is reluctant to, that's a significant flag. Let's talk about cost, because that's often the thing that drives decisions in ways that don't always serve families well. Full daycare in Australia ranges from roughly $100 to $200 per day, depending on location and type of centre. Before childcare subsidy, that's genuinely significant. After the subsidy though, that picture often looks very different. The childcare subsidy is income tested and family tested. Families earning under around $80,000 together may receive up to 90% of the childcare subsidy. Even families earning significantly more than that can receive meaningful subsidy too. The Services Australia website has a calculator. Use it before you make any cost-based decisions. A few parents, some of the stuff they don't always know about childcare subsidy. You need to be enrolled in an approved service to receive it. Nannies and au pairs are generally not childcare subsidy eligible. The number of subsidised hours depends on your combined hours of work, training, or recognised activity. If your circumstances change, hours of work, income, family size, update your details with Centrelink, or the subsidy amount can overcalculate and create a debt. Don't make your childcare decision purely on the advertised daily rate. Know your actual out-of-pocket cost amount. That number is always lower than parents expect. Most childcare guides end at the enrolment decision, but I want to talk to you about what comes after, because the settling in period is something parents are rarely well prepared for, and it can be genuinely distressing if you don't know what to expect. Almost all children go through a settling in period when starting childcare. Even children who seem fine in the first few days often have a delayed reaction. This is completely normal and doesn't mean you made the wrong choice or that your child is struggling in a way that won't resolve. What a good settling in process looks like. Gradual introduction, starting with short sessions with the parent present, then short sessions without, then longer sessions. A consistent drop-off routine as well. Same time, same person when available, brief and warm rather than prolonged. An identified primary educator who takes particular responsibility for your child's emotional security in those first few weeks. So red flags during settling that warrant attention though. Persistent extreme distress beyond the first few weeks, that doesn't actually reduce. A child who seems flat, withdrawn or unlike themselves at pickup consistently. A centre that dismisses your concerns about how your child is settling rather than engaging with them seriously. See, I've seen both ends of the stick with this. There was one centre we did one trial day at with my eldest when she was younger. When we left her, she was crying, which is common, being held by an educator. An hour later, when my partner came to pick her up, when she collected my child, she just went floppy and slumped, as if she'd given up any hope of anyone coming to her attention to care for her. That was a serious concern, and we did not go back to that centre. However, on the flip side as well, I've seen some great centres. I've seen centres where there's been literally one educator, given to a child just to pat them and talk to them and soothe them and comfort them all day if needs be. Just pat, pat, pat. As difficult as that can be for an educator when they're crying, they understand that that child's well-being is more important. And just to be able to be there and available and present for them, help that child really settle only after a couple of weeks. So look, the settling in period is temporary. With the right support from both the centre and you, the vast majority of children settle into childcare and genuinely thrive there. Choosing the right centre is not the end of your role. How you engage with the centre once your child is enrolled has a direct impact on the quality of care they receive. Build a genuine relationship with your child's primary educator, not just polite handovers at drop-off and pick-up, actual conversations about your child, their interests, their challenges, what you're seeing at home, what they're telling you about their days. When educators know you well and your child well through you, not just through their own observation, they can care for your child more effectively. You are the expert on your child. Sharing that expertise with the people caring for them every day is part of the partnership. If something concerns you, raise it. early and directly with the room educator first. If unresolved, then the director. If seriously unresolved after that, then the regulatory authority. Quality centres welcome parent feedback and take concerns seriously. A centre that becomes defensive or dismissive when you raise a concern is telling you something quite important. You chose this centre. You also have the right to leave it if it stops being right for your child. Don't get locked in by the decision you made. Your child's well-being is the constant. Everything else is flexible. Look, I know this has been a long video because finding the right childcare centre is genuinely an important decision, and you deserve comprehensive guidance rather than a quick checklist. What I've shared with you today, the types of care, the research tools, the waitlist reality, what to observe on a tour, the questions that matter, the subsidy system, the settling in period, how to stay involved. That's nearly 15 years of professional knowledge combined with my own experience as a parent going through this exact process. There are genuinely brilliant childcare centres across Australia, staffed by people who love children and are exceptional at what they do. Your job, and I hope this video has helped, is to find the right one for your child. The free printable childcare search checklist is in the description below. Every step from this video in one printable document. Take it with you on your search. If you're new to this channel, by the way, welcome. I'm Dan. I spent nearly 15 years in early childhood and I'm a dad of 2 daughters. This channel is about giving Australian parents honest, practical, empathetic advice from someone who genuinely gets it, both professionally and personally. There's a lot more where this came from. Please hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you know any other Australian parents who are navigating the childcare search right now, share this video with them. It might be exactly what you need. And don't forget, let's all walk in love and peace.